Everybody, and welcome to the Pool Players Weekly Webinar Call. We're going to get started here in just one moment, but before we do, if anybody who's on the call can confirm that both audio and video connections are functioning as expected, and then we can get started. Okay. Dave is saying yes, Dean is saying yes. Hello to everybody. Once again, welcome to the Pool Players Q&A Weekly Webinar Call. My name is Peter, and I'm Pool Players Product Manager. We're holding these calls in order to, as the name of the webinar indicates, answer any questions that you as users may have, also to provide any training on any advanced features or use cases of video in your business in general. Also to showcase new stuff that we've been working on, as well as to discuss, organize, share ideas, criticisms, feedback for how we can keep improving Pool Player in the future and thus contribute adding value through it to your business use cases. Hello to Rick as well. All is well with me. Hopefully is with you guys as well. The format of the webinar is pretty straightforward. At any time that you have a question, you're welcome to drop it in this chat box, and we're just going to start answering them in the order that they come in. If you came prepared with any questions, now would be a good time just to drop them in there. As far as it being a weekly webinar, replays are available if you're not able to attend one of these weeks. Replays are available both on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook group, links to which I've just posted in the chat box. Additionally, a good resource to have handy if anybody who's watching the webinar is just getting started with Pool Player is our knowledge base, which is available at docs.poolplayer.com, and in particular the Getting Started section, which describes how to get your first video up and running with some basic Pool Player functionality and how you can go about exploring what everything Pool Player has to offer with great step-by-step tutorials as well as video tutorials and so on. So pretty good stuff there in the knowledge base. Additionally, if you have one of the ideas that you would like to share with us for future improvement of Pool Player, you're welcome to contribute and review our product board where Pool Player users can collaborate and share ideas. And you can always do that from the application by clicking over here on documentation and support and clicking on submit and vote on ideas. That will take you to our product portal where you can product board where you can see everything that we're working on, stuff that's under consideration. So all of these are ideas from your fellow Pool Player users, which others are now voting on, and that helps us validate those ideas and helps them gain momentum and helps us roadmap them more appropriately. So if you are also interested in the integration with Drip, you can come over here and say, hey, this is important for me, and that way your vote counts. And ultimately, as I mentioned, up here on the top right corner, you can submit an idea, and there we can listen to your feedback and organize your idea and get it in front of other Pool Player users for validation as well. So hopefully this comes in useful if you're just getting started with Pool Player. Do we have any other items that I need to mention for housekeeping? If not, I'll just turn to a couple of things that are happening right now. So with the global pandemic causing the or at least carrying the implications that it does, a lot of people are, of course, working from home, and a lot of people are starting to create online businesses as an alternative financial stream for their families. So we're seeing a lot of new people joining Pool Player and a lot of new people utilizing it in very interesting ways. A lot of everything that's online now is blowing up. So Pool Player is not an exception. And with that, we're taking a considerable amount of new people and new videos to our platform, and hence our capacities have been overloaded for the last week or so, and that started to show, at least it was noticeable for a day or two in the past couple of weeks, where we had to throttle some uploads for new videos and so on. So basically, I just wanted to let you guys know that we're dealing with an unprecedented amount of new videos and new users that are coming into Vul Player. And that's why sometimes you might see that conversion servers are overloaded, or that something's working a little bit slower than usual. We expect this to balance out, because all of these new people who are coming in, they're coming in with a huge amount of videos that they have, either for their classes or whatever, and they're just uploading hundreds of videos at a time. So that's why we're pretty confident that's going to level out at one point, and we're going to be back to business as usual. But regardless of that, we're also working on increasing our capacities and making sure that we come up with more sustainable and more scalable solution, which will have the ability to grow and shrink on demand. So that's one of the things that's happening right now for us. So we just ask for your patience and thank you for your understanding as we go through this. Stephen is asking, are we planning to upgrade hardware if this load is sustained? So that's the core of the issue, really, is that we're just relying on hardware at this point. We have two machines that have the capacity to do about 20 conversion processes in parallel. So they have 12 processors each, and we're running 10 processors on each of them, so each processor can do one video at a time. And the problem is that we're just relying on those hardware machines, whereas what we're planning to do now is develop an on-demand cloud clusters, which would enable us to say, hey, all of a sudden we have 100 uploads. All right, bring up 5 machines. So we just clone the conversion server as additional instances to however many clones we need, and they finish the job, and suddenly we have one file converting, so we can shut down the remaining however many, and we can only have one. So we're defining and are starting to come up with a solution which would be scalable in such a way that it will be we would be able to bring up as many instances of these let's just call them conversion server clones or clusters, as we're calling them, and be able to just scale them up or down on as needed basis. That's the general approach at this time that we're working on. That's a great question from Steven. That's the first thing that I wanted to mention. Second thing I wanted to mention as well, considering that we have no questions, so I can just ramble on. With regards to the new player, I'm not sure if I can share this with you guys, but why not? Let me just open it up real quick. So we're about ready. So for those who are not aware, this is a good resource as well. So we're putting out 4.2 of Vul Player. This is the rework of the entire player, primarily with, so as far we've been pushing the 4.1 version for about 3 years now. And with all of the optimizations that we can, well, I think we pushed it only so far, but there are too many lessons learned and opportunities identified and frictions which we've noticed, that we felt it was good to kind of rework everything. From a lot has changed in the industry, a lot has changed in browser capabilities and browser restrictions and so on. So for anybody who's interested in participating in the beta program for this new player, would definitely recommend checking this out as a quick guide as to what's going on and why we're doing this. But basically, just to update everybody a little bit on the progress. So we're I think past the point of where we want to have sort of playback functionality, cross-device environment, browser compatibility on everything, and have everything behaving as we want. So we're planning to put out a new subversion of this. So there's going to be 4.2.3, I think, which is coming out in the beta in the next couple of days for additional testing. And I think after that, as mentioned, all of that sort of stuff that goes with the player intrinsically, if you don't add any features or anything like that, is complete. So we're pretty pleased with how it's turning out, and we're getting ready to start porting in actual features from the old player. So your logos, your overlays, your personalization, your gates, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that is queued up and ready to go. So we should be starting to hit some pretty significant strides in that porting of features fairly soon. So things should start to move a bit faster with that now. So just wanted to share an update on that as well. So expect I think it's 4.2.3 that's coming out in the next couple of days, new version of the 4.2 improved player beta. And if you want to participate in that program, again, here are the instructions on how you can do that in that article that I shared in the chat box of the webinar. All right. Do we have any other questions that I can address at this time? Has anyone suggested an estimated time notice for converting uploads? That's been thrown around, and estimated is kind of the key word there. Without wanting to thread carefully here, I'll just say that estimating that is not something that I think would yield in any sort of better expectation management from our end, because so let's say any kind of an estimate can be wildly inaccurate, and I mean as much as we want to have it be accurate, it's hard to do so because of many factors. So for example, you could say, hey, there are 100 videos in queue right now. So that means that if an average video takes about, I don't know, 10 minutes to convert, that's gonna take 1,000 minutes. So I can say your video is going to be up next in 1,000 minutes, and it's probably going to be done in 1,010 minutes, right? So that will be one approach that we could take. But the problem with that approach is that each video is unique in its conversion process, not only because of its encoding and its codecs and its length and its size and its resolution. All of those things vary its processing time dramatically. But not only that, but the image content of that video is going to be impacting the processing time of a conversion significantly. So if you just have a video, which is like, if we're just watching this video of this webinar recording where you just have my desktop screen static and nothing's changing, that's going to consume far less bandwidth than if we had a music video where there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of colors, or a football game where there's a lot of action, a lot of cutscenes. The more the complex the image and the transitions of those images are, the more bandwidth it needs to consume. So one 10-minute video can be processed in 10 minutes, but one 10-minute video can be processed in an hour plus. So that's why it's very, very hard to estimate that, especially when you're dealing with large numbers. Those estimates are going to vary dramatically. And us saying in such inaccurate way, hey, we think your video might be finished in whatever, an hour and a half, means that you're going to have an expectation coming back to us and say, hey, my video is going to be done in an hour and a half. I'm going to come back and check in. Whereas it's nowhere near that, and we wouldn't be able to even readjust that estimate because we don't know what's going on with those videos. So you would just have a missed expectation every time that you're coming back to meet it. However, I'll elaborate on that a little bit further in saying that there's been suggestions in developing a notification system of sorts. So whereas you can upload a video, exactly. That's what I was getting to, is that once the video has finished processing, you can have an email notification or any kind of a notification that you can set up, letting you know, hey, your videos have finished processing, and all of those are enhancements which we don't necessarily think are the right approach and the best way to invest our time in. We would much rather, at least just from a perspective of something that should be the item of most value that we could be working on at this time. We're much too focused on trying to build up that architecture, which I was mentioning, which scales in such a way that it can grow and it can perform much better, where these problems which require these solutions are not necessarily needed. So that's why we want to focus on developing this architecture. And once we implement this new type of processing and new type of as you put it, hardware in place, then from that point onwards, we can think of complementing features of that system, such as notifications or estimations and so on. And that's all something that we would look to implement in that new system. So coming to estimations, for example, if we want to include them, it would make much more sense to include them in the new system as we're bringing it up, so we can think about it in a more productive way and come up with, I honestly can't guarantee, but more accurate estimates that would mean something, rather than us just guessing and multiplying by a number of videos. Also, maybe provide a summary of daily activity for the entire platform so users can see trends across time. Daily activity for the entire platform. What do you mean by entire platform? That can mean a lot of things. If you can elaborate on that, so I'm assuming some sort of a reporting capability, number of uploads. Oh, so for the entire platform of all our users. So sort of like a status dashboard for everything that's going on. I see what you're saying. Definitely we can do that. We do have a dashboard at I'm afraid to open it at this time because of what's been going on this week. So we have a dashboard at status.woolplayer.com, which in its own looks like, or we're good. We just had a brief outage on April 6th on our API, which is not that bad. All right, so what we could do is we could bring up some sort of metrics in here, such as total uploads per day, so we can build in an upload/conversions rows, and then we can include per day numbers on those. That would be something that we could do. I don't know how much value that could carry, but I'll definitely note that as a feedback point on something that we might make actionable at a later time. I'll note that as a feedback point, as well as those suggestions for the new conversion platform. Just log in here. All right, just don't forget that. All right, cool. Clark is saying, are links or HTML code needed for Wool Player videos in ConvertBox? I'm going to load more soon. Again, if I'm not mistaken, we run into this integration with ConvertBox
several times on this webinar, and especially from Clark Cotton, and we always leave it at integrating WooPlayer into ConvertBox or any other platform rests within the ConvertBox or that other platform. We can't determine how a specific platform is going to interpret or work with our players. So we're more than willing to work with any platform on developing an integration, but you as a user of that platform need to reach out to them and say, hey, I have this video player which I want to implement inside of my inside of your platform, and how do I go about doing that? However, if as we did, if I'm not mistaken, if you want to integrate ConvertBox inside of WooPlayer, and I think we've done that with some chat box widgets or something like that, if memory serves me right. Then you come to us and you're like, hey, I have this snippet of code that I'm getting from ConvertBox, and I want to integrate it inside of my video. We're the guys to talk to. All right. Steven is saying charts read better for many people. All right. WooPlayer videos are at bottom. Understood. Send them to. I get it. All right. Cool. Dean is saying, you were talking about slow servers when uploading videos. This past Sunday around 2 p.m. Eastern, I was updating all my sites for WordPress to 5.4. Once updated, I cleared all my cache. Let me catch a breath. I noticed that WooPlayer was slow on showing up the thumbnail when viewing. I noticed that it was fetching WooPlayer for about 10 seconds. Within 15 minutes, all was good and still is. Was this due to your server being heavily used? Just curious. Yes. So Sunday around 2. I think that's about time when one of the spikes happened. And just to clarify, so how big of a spike it was, I'm not sure if I should share numbers in any way, but so there are different components of any system, of course. So the conversion component, for example, and the upload component are completely separate from the video player. I'm not sharing. I'm just explaining. So the publish component is completely separate from the conversion and upload component. But what happened was that the volume was so large that the increase on the upload component of the system overspilled into the API component, and that's this moment in time that we see here, that was there were so many API requests, and that's just an individual request that says I want to upload a new video, and that resource is shared across systems. So that's a resource which just says, just register that the new video has been uploaded. And there's been so many of those that those started bottlenecking the player publish component, and for that to happen, that needs to be in very high numbers. So let's just put it that way. So that's what happened there. All right. Again, we thank everybody for their patience in understanding how on maybe unprecedented, or I wouldn't say we're unprepared, because even with that high number of new videos, nothing went down. It was just a big backup of and big buildup of a queue that needs to be executed, which ended up executing at the end. So everything's clear now. Everything's now back to normal, and we've implemented some sort of a throttling system which we can control until we can get this new scaling infrastructure in place. So I think we've dealt with the increase rather elegantly. But we thank everybody for understanding the partial slowdown. Stephen is saying, are you guys using a microservices architecture? Just curious. Uh, I'll just say we are using microservices as a part of our, as a solution for a part of our architecture. Dean is saying, yes, service is top notch. Really pleased to hear that. Do we have any other questions which we can entertain? Any ideas in general for Wool Player? Any critiques of anything that can be improved, maybe? Dave is saying thanks. You are the Wool Player. You are the Wool Player team is doing. You and the Wool Player team are doing a great job during this difficult time. Thanks for everything. All right. Well, thanks to you guys for continuing to use Wool Player and for taking the time this week to join. Hopefully, we'll see you next week as well with some great ideas and questions that will help us define a better solution for Wool Player and your businesses in the future. Thanks. Take care, guys, and hopefully everybody's doing well during this difficult time. Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Bye.